Hi, everyone. Today we're joined by Jordan Abney. He's one of our residency prep vlog candidates. We're kind of getting a bit of a catch up from what he's been doing since his last video. We last spoke to him before interviews went out, so hopefully we're going to hear some good news and hear what's been happening. So Jordan, what's been going on since we last spoke?
Yes, so I'm currently working on a dual degree where I've already done my clinical studies. So I'm going to get a doctorate and then a master's in biomedical research. So I've still been working on that. I actually have the proposal defense next week. So I've been trying to do that and schedule interviews and get all the forms and meet and greets and everything like that in order. So yeah, been very busy, I guess. Busybody.
Yeah, sounds like it. That must be tough to juggle all of that. But tell us a little bit about how many programs you kind of applied to and how you went about choosing which programs to apply to.
Yeah, so I wanted to cast a really wide net at the end. Coming from an international, as being an international medical graduate, I knew that the odds were against me in a way. So I cast a wide net. What I did was I would cross-reference a bunch of different programs, including Match a Resident, free to use those and just try to find out what programs I had a shot with and then what programs I wanted to actually just be a part of and, shoot a shot. So I'm from the South. I applied to a lot of programs in the South. I cross-referenced the step requirements and things like that. And I actually would go through a lot of the programs that I was on the fence of, and I would go through and see if they had any international, like I would Google search their resident classes, and then I would see if there was any international medical students there. And so that also helped me make a decision on who I wanted to exclude or include.
Firstly, being IMG friendly was a very important criteria for you, and
Mhm.
location also seems to be important. So did you kind of apply everywhere or mainly South?
Yeah, so I applied everywhere,
Mhm.
but though sometimes, like if there was a program that didn't necessarily have international medical students, but it was in the South, I thought might as well just try my luck. And so
Shoot
that's what
your
I did.
shot, see what happens. Yeah, and that's a good idea. So, was there any other criteria that you were kind of looking for in a program, or is that something you're going to be, trying to decide when you're going through the interview process?
Yeah, I wanted it to be a decent program. I would look at some of the reviews, and Match Resident was actually really great for that because they have that whole review tab. I wanted a program that was it felt like a family. And so if I knew somebody that was there or at a program, I would message them and see. And so that was my exclusion criteria. But also, I knew that, I wanted to get the interview first before I started, you know, canceling people out. And so, I guess I wasn't looking at anything other than, if they were going to accept me or not. And then from there, I was going to make my list.
Okay. And did you put your application through before the deadline, or how did that go for you?
Yes. So I did, and prepping all those documents and getting everything in, it can be a little hectic, especially towards the end. I remember that in almost every program, it requires an MSPE form. It's just like a dean's letter, and I messaged my school multiple times about it because I
Yeah.
didn't see it in there. And then on the day the application dropped, mine still wasn't in. And so I
Oh,
messaged the school. They said I fell through the cracks. Luckily, I messaged the people immediately because I had been in contact. They told me it was in,
yeah.
and I just trust. I was like, maybe there's something going on. And then Luckily, I think it within like 3 to 4 days it was in. It took like 3 to 4 days to go through the ECFMG processing. So I had everything in,
Mm.
but there was a little technical, there are still little technical issues, but I don't think that hindered me in any way. I think there was one program director. So I was reaching out to a couple of the ones that I really was hoping to get an interview from. And they said that I didn't have this form and that I needed it. And luckily within a day it was in, and they acknowledged that they received it. So
Okay.
it didn't take anything on my end, luckily. But
Yeah,
it was
still
nerve-wracking at the time.
stressful. Yeah, I can imagine. Because
Oh,
you've done everything that you needed to do, right? And
yes.
it was just like your school. Okay.
And I didn't have any interviews at the time, so I was like, oh my God, is this going to prevent me from any? Luckily, no, it did not. So, and I knew people that had gotten some stuff in later, so they told me not to worry. But at the time, you're like, I did everything right.
Yeah. Were you able to do any kind of sub internships or audition rotations before application season?
Yes. So I did a couple of it. So I remember at the time, I was actually at the very end of my medical or my clinical studies. I was actually deciding between emergency medicine and surgery. And so what I did was I did a sub-I in emergency medicine, audition rotation, and a sub-I in surgery, just to see how what I was going to do and what I really, really enjoyed. So I yeah, I got to do a couple of those, and I actually thought those were very helpful, especially when I did the emergency medicine one. It was towards the end of my career or my studies, so I was really able to showcase myself well, and then I was able to get a letter of recommendation from both sub-Is, so it helped out.
Nice. And I know it's still early for, receiving interviews and stuff like that, but were you able to secure an interview at a place that you did a sub-I, or are you still waiting on that?
Yes, so I was able to get one from yes, I was able to get one from the ones that I did the sub-I in. Actually, a lot of the programs have recommended that I do that anyway. Like if I went to a meet and greet or anything, they say sign up for it. Unfortunately, with the master's program, I'm not allowed to do rotations and that at the same time, but I definitely recommend that. It was
Okay.
very helpful, and it gave a good look at the program. You got to meet the residents, everything.
Yeah, that's always like a great way to tell if you'll fit in. You get to meet the attendings and the other residents. So it's always like a good opportunity to get to know the program. And if you would like to share, we'd love to know how many interviews you've secured.
So I don't know if it's gonna cross any hairs or anything, but I right now I have 18. I don't know if that's a average number or not. I know that they say if you have 11, I think is the one to shoot for. It's a good strong opportunity for you to match. I don't know if that's the same for international medical graduates, but yes. So luckily I've been able to get 18 so far. Hoping for
Nice.
more.
Nice, nice. Okay. And have you had any issues with scheduling interviews or kind of not making it in time to get a slot, or what's that been like for you?
Luckily, I've been able to schedule them without any complications yet. Now, some of them, it was a little, I had to do a little finagling of a schedule. Some of the programs that have sent me invitations, I will say, I guess I was one of the last picked for those, because when I looked, almost all the slots were taken. Or I think one program sent me one and there was only one in-house interview. You couldn't do any virtual, you couldn't do anything. It was one slot
Oh,
open, like at the program. So I guess I'll be flying to that one. But yeah, no real complications, but I will say that if for any recommendation, to get on it as quickly as possible. There was one day the interviews opened up at like 6 o'clock, and I checked at 6:05. I was currently doing something. 6:05, and almost all the slots up to like the end of December and January were taken.
Oh, wow.
So everybody's on top of it. So I would be prudent to do it as well.
Okay. And how about choosing dates? Are you looking at kind of getting them done sooner rather than later, or kind of doing it towards the end, like Jan, so that they kind of remember you? I remember kind
Mm,
of thinking, like strategically, is it better to do the interview earlier so they kind of have you in mind all season, or do it at the end so that they remember you when it's time to rank? I still don't know the answer.
I don't know either. I've been trying to think it through, and every time and I guess it depends on who you talk to, because if you say, I thought I would schedule the important ones later
Hmm.
just so I could be on their mind, but people have told me to actually schedule it earlier, because there's a whole process of them just interviewing over and over and over again, and sometimes it's the first person you see, not the last person, that actually sticks in your mind, because they're still happy to do the interviews at the very beginning,
Yeah.
as opposed to by the end when it's been over and over and over again. So I've tried to schedule them earlier, just in case other interviews or opportunities came in. There wouldn't be any scheduling conflicts. And
Okay.
so, yes, that's what I've been trying to do, but I definitely have some later. So maybe I'll be able to tell you by the end of this.
I don't know if there's a good answer to this. I think it's just, the way they vibe with you and like rank list at the end of the day. How about interview prep? What's that been looking like for you?
So I have been a lot of looking up typical interview questions. Match Resident, I got that interview prep with them, and that was very, very helpful. They actually, the program where it actually watches your eyes and allows you to make eye contact and practice your questions, that's been very helpful. I've also been, um, anybody that's willing to talk to me about it, we go over answers. I actually have a podcast with a buddy of mine on Sunday where we're going to do it, essentially just interview each other. He's going through the process as well. And so we kind of just, I've just been utilizing every tool at my disposal.
Awesome. Okay, well, this is just the beginning of interview season, so I'm sure it's gonna go really well. We'll probably speak to you again closer to the end of interview season, once you've had a few interviews under your belt, and you can give us more tips and tricks on what you've been doing and how you've been, juggling it all. But for now, where can people follow you, and how can we listen to your podcast?
Yeah. So you can follow me. We have an Instagram page. So the Instagram page is Off White Coat Podcast. We post all the episodes there. We also have, and there's a link there's a link tree, and it'll have all the episodes on that. Also, it's on Spotify, Apple, Google, any of the places you can find it. We actually just started YouTube and a TikTok too. So you can, so if there's video, it's posted to YouTube, and we now have a TikTok, which I'm not the best at social media. So I've been needing a lot of help with that, but that has helped us out a lot. And so, yeah, you can find me there, or, yeah. And if anybody needs any help or recommendations, they can always message us there, or, um, anywhere, any social media website, I guess. And we're also on Facebook too. I guess I'm spitting them all out at this point.
Yeah. So we'll obviously tag you, and tag your YouTube channel so people can subscribe below this.
Yeah.
Um, and any kind of words of motivation or last words for anyone out there kind of going through the interview process right now?
Yeah. Just take it one day at a time, be patient, everything works out. If you've been diligent throughout the whole time, everything is going to work out. I know it can be nerve-wracking. Don't compare yourself to other people. Just be patient, because at the end of the day, it all works out. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. And I'll link everything in the bio, and we'll keep up with you on Instagram, YouTube, all the social medias, and TikTok.
of course, yes. Thank you so much, Versha, and it's been a pleasure. And if anybody else needs anything, you feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to.
Awesome.